Fox News, you will see that idiot mayor defending her remarks about allowing rioters space to destroy. What an idiot! What a moron! Okay, she's a Mad Max moron. She's running around a mayor of a major American city, and look, the mayor is black, the police chief is black, the majority of the city council is black. And I remember when I was a little bitty whipper, the old folks would say, I guess, once we get more black folks in the positions of power here in politics, things will be just right, because blacks will look out for each other. Bull capital, that's where they head. Never has life in black America been worse than it is now. And I wasn't even alive, back in the day when they said that things were so horrible under Jim Crow, but I've seen the pictures, and I saw streets lined with businesses. The residential districts were always neat and clean. I didn't see pictures of trash. I saw just blocks and blocks of successful businesses, and you talk about the 1940s and the 50s and all that, and you look at what's going on today, as I have told all lily white audiences, I do not care if Mr. Skidinski doesn't want to live next to me or sit next to me on the bus. What I want to do is where I decide to live, that I can live in peace and harmony with my neighbors that live around me, and I don't have to worry about getting my house broken into, or if someone sees my son's tennis shoes and they want them, then they're not going to jack him up for his tennis shoes and then run around and talk about the police brutality. But you know who I'm most angry with, though? The police, because they didn't do their job. They should have walked up on those knuckle draggers last night and put those dogs down. That's what they should have done to save that city. And I understand that, political correctness is taken over, and if a police officer uses a fly swatter against anyone, they're going to go to Nutsville and holler, "Oh, racism! He hurt me! Okay, well, too bad. But to allow these nutcases gone wild to just burn down an American historical city like that, just burn it up like bad French fries, just for the heck of it, and just sit back to pull back. That just blew my mind last night. I said, oh my! They knew where to do it. They knew where to do it. In Cleveland, that would not have happened. They're behind. Many of them would be dead now, and rightfully so, because for them to basically try to kill an entire economy of a major American city. There's a whole lot of layers to this matter. They are wiping out. There were other blacks who were saying, look, they need to stop it because I need to go to work. There were folks that have jobs at this particular mall. The name escapes me right now, but they said, hey, look, why don't they stop this stuff? They're hurting us the most. They're the ones that are hurting us, not the police, not the white man. And now they're going to, wherever they burn up, look, that's your jobs. There's more people that are out of work. And it goes on and on and on. And John, you are dead on target when you say that this is planned. No one can tell me that in an American society built upon the pillars that this country was built upon, that you would have a population that would want to burn down its own city. Why weren't blacks burning down cities in the 1950s? Why weren't they burning them down before the civil rights era, when racism was really tough on blacks? But yet, back in those days, blacks were patriotic, blacks were civilized as everyone else, had a lower abortion rate than the white population. They were on an upwardly mobile track as a population. They had a greater percentage of businesses in their neighborhoods than they do now, and so on and so on. And guess what? They believed in God, and most of them were patriotic. Today, they are what they are because the civil rights people, all the liberal elites, the socialists who run the school systems, the churches, and have broken down the family structure and have stupefied this population, for 50 doggone years since the bastardized rights movement began in this country, and now you have these people that are easily led by evildoers, like those who are influenced by people who are paid by Soros. And what is that knucklehead Obama? He calls the governor, another Democrat, the governor of Maryland, and tells him, "Oh, show restraint." Are you kidding me? It says in the Bible that the government is supposed to strike fear in the hearts of criminals. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what it means. And evildoers are supposed to fear the government. They're not supposed to have police officers backing up like they're Chicken Little.
Well, I think one of the things that people are not paying attention to here, when you have these destroy zones being created by city officials like the mayor of Baltimore and saying, I guess anything within these limits, how many blocks or whatever it is she designated as, I just call them destroy zones. You do whatever you want to do, that kind of thing. And it was funny that she was commenting about the idea that we want to make sure they were worried about traffic control. We don't want cars hitting the rioters while they're out there rioting, but not so much concerned with perhaps the rioters destroying the cars that are coming around. But in line with that, one of the things that I'm finding myself really just, for lack of a better word, I'm just kind of fascinated by the whole idea right now, is that it seems like that outside of the fact that this thing is being orchestrated, I really just believe that each and every time this stuff happens is that we really just start hearing more and more about this idea that city officials don't want to engage their police force in crime control without getting the federal nod first. It's almost like we don't want to do anything to upset the DOJ, that kind of thing. Like it's just like how the Republicans don't want to do anything because they don't want to be called racist. These city officials don't want to do anything because they don't want to be called out by the federal government for being inept, even though everything they do is inept. And I sometimes wonder if perhaps in the situation here in Baltimore that perhaps Marion Barry left a kilo of coke laying around somewhere, and these guys, they sit around and get high, and hey, I got an idea. Let's mask off the city and let them destroy. How do you decide what part of the city to let somebody destroy? Why would you choose that? It's the idiocy and the responses that we're seeing more and more, and it just indicates to me that we have more and more unqualified people being elected to office, which means more and more our electorate is becoming more and more stupid. They're just not paying attention. I do want to say this. I want to get this out here before we cut off our first break here. As you were talking, Ron, I was just kind of flipping through the website here, and I ran across an article on a website called The Fourth Estate. And they have published here, I'm going to do research on this, so I'm speculating right now. I'm not writing anything in stone, so I don't want anybody attaching me to this. I'm just saying it looks like these people found evidence filed in the Circuit Court of Maryland that this gentleman that supposedly died from back injuries inflicted under police custody had just received a settlement a week before for back injury, and that he was, through the court, trying to obtain a lump sum payment rather than scheduled payouts for this injury that he had. I'm looking at the court circuit for Howard County civil system, and it says here, Peachtree Settlement Funding was filing on behalf of the petitioner for a lump sum payment with the people of Structured Settlement, and they were going after who was the petitioner? It looks like the representative for whoever it was that got sued was another attorney. So it looks like on the surface we may have here another situation where we say, like Michael Brown, they refer to him as the gentle giant. They downplayed the fact that he had just robbed a store before he got shot. The other guy was selling the illegal cigarettes in New York, and we find out that he had a rap sheet on him. And it's like we completely disregard this idea that black people today can actually commit crimes. This is what I was thinking. I was reading an article earlier today where the accusation or the contention was made that when white people riot, they're called criminals. When black people riot, they're called protesters. Now, and I thought, when I first saw that, I thought, okay, I can see where somebody might be coming from. But I, in my lifetime, can't remember watching white rioters anywhere. Maybe they've been out there, but I can't remember. Can you remember any instance where we've had a large white community rise up and start burning everything down?
Well, the only thing closest to that I can recall, and this is in the last century, two cases. One at Kent State University where they were put down, and it was stopped because of, it was majority whites. They were protesting the Vietnam War and all that, and they were all over America. They were being very physically abusive on college campi.
Uh-huh.
And so once they were met head on at Kent State University, and in my opinion, rightfully so, that kind of stuff ended on university. And the only other incident when there was anything close to a white riot where they burned down towns, well, there was a case in, I forget the decade, but I know that before the 1950s, where whites burned down a black town in Florida, and also in Oklahoma, where it was called the Black Wall Street, where initially the black population was told by the whites, we don't want to be around you niggers, stay away from us, we don't want you in our stores, and the blacks said, oh, okay, cool. And what they did, they discovered oil on their land, and they became very prosperous. And they said, well, they were perfect with that. They said, okay, they don't want us in their businesses. They built their own. They had everything, from schools to cleaners to everything in between, hospital, very successful black community. And this is the only place until 9/11 that was actually bombed from the air, whereas some redneck farmers had gotten together and, their crop dusting apparatus, airplanes were used to bomb these black communities from the air, and they burned that city to the ground. But as far as, and there was also a white riot in Chicago. I think it was in the 1940s where the Italians marched over to the black community and wreaked havoc in that community. But even in Chicago, they didn't burn the whole city like they're doing in Baltimore. They had a specific objective. They said, well, we're going to go get those blacks, and that's what they did. And there were incidences like that in Georgia and all of that in the early 20th century. But they were not, it was not the same type of motivation as what you're seeing here in Baltimore. It was more of a racial situation back in the incidents that I'm talking about. But this stuff here, it's a combination of so many things: race, economics. They're throwing the hatred of the police, the hatred of America, the hatred of capitalism, the hate of everything good, just about. And we have to point blame again at the school system, which has been systematically set up to stupefy individuals. Because, look, I'll use this example until it cannot be used anymore. Frederick Douglass could walk out of abject slavery. He walked out, he freed himself, and became more successful, I guess, than 90% of black or white Americans today. Mm-hmm. And it was because of a decision he made. But there was one advantage he had over, I would say, 80% of the black population today and about 60% of the white population today. They were not indoctrinated in years of this type of systematic school system that is designed to destroy the thinking processes and even destroy the common sense factor in the brains of individuals in America. And, sometimes people don't believe me when I say that, but all we have to do is do some research and see the things that they're teaching these students. And you can then you'll come to understand that what I'm telling you is the truth.